Nigeria's former Vice President Ola Atiku Abubakar Sunday laid to rest insinuation that he might not contest the presidential post 2 years from now, stressing that he will run for the nation's next top job in the next election cycle. Ola Atiku Abubakar's position was made public through his longtime associate and spokesperson during the 2023 elections, Tunde Olusunle. Atiku's recent declaration follows reports that he may consider his presidential bid after Professor Ola Olateju from Achievers University suggested that Atiku is more focused on improving Nigeria than on the presidency itself.
In response, Atiku distanced himself from Olateju's comments, stating from his holiday home in the UAE that remarks were unauthorized. When people stand in for me at events, we preview my thoughts on the instant subject. In this particular instance, there was no engagement with me to distill my thoughts. Professor Olateju was not speaking for me, Atiku was quoted as saying. We'll be joined this morning for further discussion by the Senior Political Assistant to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Demola Olarewaju. Good morning, Mr. Olarewaju. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning, Olive. Good morning, Bega.
All right.
Good morning.
I don't know if you were able to follow the previous interview we had with Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, and I did ask him his thoughts about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar declaring his intention to run, and you heard I'm hoping you heard his response. He talked about the ADC lacking structure and that the ADC would need about 10 years to establish structure, regardless of how much money they have. And off camera, he did also say that Alhaji Atiku has the potential to win the primaries, but not the temperament to win the elections. How do you respond to that?
Well, Dr. Atiku Pierce is somebody I've known for quite a while. Within his own sphere of influence in Lagos State, I think he has his voice is quite weighty, especially within the Lagos PDP. However, when it comes to national politics, I think it's a different ballgame. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar is a former vice president. He's well experienced, and Dr. Pierce's comment, he's well understood anyway by some of us who understand Lagos politics. We know what is going on, especially as regards the positioning for who emerges as a candidate in PDP. But I will say very clearly that His Excellency Atiku Abubakar is a man of many political parts, and he will draw support, not just from within the ADC, but also the PDP and the APC, if and when he decides to contest for that election. So it's not about ADC having structure. We saw what His Excellency Peter Obi did in the last election. It's about getting the votes. And we believe very strongly that with the present direction of the PDP, a lot of the PDP structure and some of those within the APC will definitely work for change in this country in 2027.
Now, Demola, your principal, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has run for presidency 6 times. Critics say this is political fatigue masquerading as persistence. There's also talks about his age. So what makes this 7th attempt different? Does this not smack of desperation?
No, I mean, it's simple. I've been married for quite a number of years, and I'm still married. I've been a friend to people for quite a number of years. I'm still friends to those people. I have certain aspirations in life, and I'm still on those aspirations, okay? We don't give up on our aspirations. We do what we want to do, right? His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has made it clear he wants to be the president of Nigeria. As long as he's healthy, as long as he's fit, he would always put himself forward. And so I think there shouldn't be any controversy about that, except the fact that it is politics and people will try to use everything they can use against you. So if I come out to contest for president, they will tell me I'm too young. But if somebody who's older comes out to contest, they say that person is too old, So it's politics, we understand it. Okay, if your opponent is young, you say, oh, he's inexperienced. If your opponent is old, you say, oh, he's weak and tired. So we understand when people say that, we understand the place of politics where he's coming from. As far as I'm concerned, his aspiration is very clear. His aspiration is long-standing. He is running not just for himself, but to improve Nigeria. And for me, particularly, Benga, I think the present government is a confirmation that Atiku absolutely needs to be in this race. Because this is a government that is trying to implement the manifesto of Atiku Abubakar. When they were asked, why did you remove fuel subsidy? The best answers they've been able to give is to say, oh, it was in Atiku's manifesto. If it was in Atiku's manifesto, then let Atiku come and do the job, because he can do a better job. You don't just remove fuel subsidy without deregulating the market. they should come to those who crafted the manifesto to be able to understand how to implement it. So I think, the biggest argument for an Atiku presidency is this present government. I think, his aspiration is an inspiration to all of us, and it is something that we should rally behind. As long as Atiku Abubakar is healthy, as long as he's fit, I think, his aspiration for Nigeria is a worthy one, Benga.
So if you say that his aspiration is a worthy one, has there been some form of an introspection within your team to see why the previous bids have failed and what lessons can be learned that will be implemented this 7th time to guarantee success?
Well, so introspection always goes on in politics. I think the last election, and some of it is what we are seeing already, okay? The last election was probably, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it was the most difficult campaign for Atiku Abubakar. It most difficult in the sense that there had never been a time where his candidacy was heavily moved against by his allies or by his former allies within the South. This is a president who has always stood for Southern interests, okay, from the Southeast to the South-South to the Southwest. He has always stood by those interests. But when it came time, for his aspiration to ride, people came up with a lot of ethnic sentiments. But even within that difficult political terrain, even with all the anti-Fulani rhetoric, even with all the pro-Southern presidency rhetoric, Atiku Abubakar managed to win 12 states, okay? He managed to come second in that election, winning 6.98 million votes, almost 7 million votes, in a very difficult election. The only reason that we feel that we did not get over the tide is because there was no coalition of the opposition. And so the learning experience from that election is what has translated into the ADC moves that people are presently seeing. That a lot of us looked at the numbers and said, Nigerians really do not want APC to be in power. APC is in power by 37% of the vote, 36.6% to be accurate, is what brought, what has kept the APC in power and what brought Bola Tinubu into power. And so it means that the majority of Nigerians do not want this government in power. But because, the opposition could not coalesce. And so people have looked at it and said, if you have His Excellency Atiku Abubakar and His Excellency Peter Obi on the same page, then that would be the best. And I think, so far so good. This has happened. We've seen the coalition within the ADC, and it will continue to grow. And I think, it can only be successful this time around. I think that the bid will be very successful for the good of Nigerians, basically.
Mr. Demola, what do you mean when you say Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and His Excellency Peter Obi on the same page? Are you inferring the possibility of them running on a single ticket?
Well, that is a possibility. It is a possibility. I can't rule anything out in politics. The only thing that we can rule out are the things that are constitutionally impossible, such as, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar running as Vice President again. He has served as Vice President for 8 years. He cannot run as Vice President again. So a lot of things are being explored, especially within the ADC. When I say on the same page, I mean that they are working within the same political family at this point in time, which is the ADC coalition, and a lot of other politicians also. So that's what I mean when I say they're on the same page. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar and His Excellency Peter Obi, along with so many other patriotic Nigerians, because it's not just about the aspiration, it's not just about them running on the ticket, it's about rescuing the country from the misgovernance of the APC. So yes, I believe that they are on the same page, and I believe that the two of them are great patriots of the country. They are people who will not consider anything, if they have to sacrifice an ambition, to stay on that same page and to pull forces together. Yes, for me personally, I think the most ideal situation will be to have the two of them in a very clear-cut political arrangement, which is clear to Nigerians. Because Atiku Abubakar pulled 6.98 million votes. His Excellency Peter Obi pulled 6.1 million votes. If we can have those two votes together, I think that that would be the first step towards getting rid of the APC government.
Still pushing back on what you've said, you believe that two of them running on a single ticket will be the best bet, seeing as they both wield a great level of influence. Who will then be the presidential candidate and who will be the vice?
Well, I just explained it. I just explained that, look, one, it is my personal opinion that should happen. Whether or not it happens, that is left to be seen. His Excellency Peter Obi has an aspiration, which I respect. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar also has an aspiration, which I respect and I'm working for as one of his aides. However, I think that, the strongest ticket will be to field the both of them. And as I explained earlier, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has been Vice President before. He's constitutionally barred from being Vice President anymore.
All right. I just wanted to clarify that because obviously the obedience will be watching this, and we've seen them speak so strongly about the fact that for their principle is presidency or nothing.
No, let's just before let you go.
I think just chipping, I think His Excellency Peter Obi has made very clear that he is a patriot, and nobody expected him to come this far. Okay, people thought he was going to try to go it alone again. Nobody expected him to be in a coalition. He has demonstrated extreme patriotism by that. I think at this point, the most important thing would be the ideas that he wants to implement, that what are the key areas of the economy where he would have direct oversight. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar was a very strong vice president. He was chairman of the National Economic Council. Some of the legislation that we have today is from his tenure as vice president. In fact, Atiku Abubakar has never had anything in public office beyond that 8 years, those 8 years of vice presidency between 1999 and 2007. And since then, he has remained politically relevant by reason of being that vice president. So I think,
Okay. Now, finally, Demola, before we let you go, there are two things that seem to be working against your principle as it seeks to rescue Nigeria. He says, he's been quoted as saying that Nigeria under the current president is under intensive care. Your principal is going to be 81 in 2027, November 2027 to be precise. And also there are people that point to the fact that he doesn't respect gentlemanly agreements, that he contested at the back of an 8-year northern presidency of late President Buhari, and President Tinubu is currently in his first term as president. That looking at that gentlemanly agreement that we've had, although it's not in the Constitution, that power should rotate between the North and South every 8 years, that he will be violating those principles. How do you respond to those two concerns?
I think it's very clear. Look, this idea of North and South in Nigerian politics is not exactly clear because there is really no South in terms of it. Okay, so people talk about Southern presidency. Olusegun Obasanjo had 8 years from 1999 to 2007. His Excellency Yemi Osinbajo had 8 years as vice president from 2015 to 2023. Now you have Ola Olateju running his first 4 years, and likely to run for a second 4 years. Where does that leave the Southeast within this political configuration? The Southeast has never had any time either as president or as vice president. So this Southern agenda that seems to only favor one section of the South, I think people need to probe it. And I think people need to stop lumping it all together under the idea of South. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has always been consistent in forming alliances, especially with the South. He has always risen to defend interest in the South, and that has always been clear. However, his presidency goes beyond whether it's North or South. And I think that Nigerians should be honest with themselves. I think those who say those things should be honest with themselves. Look, we are all facing reality of living in Nigeria, okay? We are all facing the challenges of living within Nigeria. And we all buy things at exorbitant amounts. If I see a Fulani man who's going to give me 1 million naira, will I reject it because it's not coming from the South? So why would I reject good governance when good governance wants to come from the South? So I think Nigerians need to remove their minds from these, ethnic things. Am I buying petroleum cheaper because I'm from the South? Or am I buying food cheaper because I'm the Yoruba man like Bola Tinubu is? So I think people need to balance these things and realize that, look, it's time for us to put aside these ethnic differences, whether it's from the North, whether it's from the South, whether it's from the Southeast. It doesn't matter. What we need to agree on is that this government has failed and this North-South argument should no longer be pushed forward.
Thank you so much, Demola Olarewaju, for your time with us. I believe we still have a lot to unpack and we'll definitely engage with you in the nearest future. Just before we let you go, are you still a member of the People's Democratic Party, on a personal note?
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm no longer a member of the People's Democratic Party. I've resigned my membership following my principal. And it's always a pleasure to be with you, Benga.
And are you with the ADC now?
Not yet fully. I'm not yet fully, but I fully support the coalition of the ADC.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for clearing the air on that.
Demola.